We get new characters, more backstory, and some sneaky little details that are super easy to miss. Let's break down some of that, especially the stuff that might slip past you if you just focused on surviving. Right away there's a hint about the Protagonist's age. There's this old-fashioned coat and hat on the rack, not exactly modern, and it paints a picture. Feels like he's probably middle-aged, maybe single and stuck in his ways, the kind of guy who doesn't talk to people unless he has to. We don't see any family or friends coming to check on the protagonist besides his neighbor. I could be wrong, but we don't seem to get a date of when these events start taking place. All we know it's the end time, and we need to survive. Meanwhile, his neighbor, total opposite, friendly, welcoming, always checking in. But that kindness gets him killed. He soon lets some strangers into his house, and turns out they were visitors. And a few nights later, his daughter shows up on your door in tears. She tells you her dad is dead, and the house is on fire. But it makes you think, maybe the protagonist is paranoid for a reason. Now let's talk about FEMA. In this world, they're not exactly the good guys. They show up, take people for testing, and no one ever sees them again. And how do they decide who's a visitor? Bright white teeth, armpit hair, dirt under the nails. That's how they're deciding who's human or not, which basically means anyone could be accused. There's also this traveler who shows up and says something cryptic. He tells you to let the person with a cat in. Apparently the cat will help you survive. Now we don't know much about this person with a cat, but in the trailer, you can actually see a cat wandering around inside the house. Maybe the cat can sense visitors. Maybe it reacts to them. We don't know how it helps yet, but it's definitely going to play a bigger role. And then there's the Pale Man. He's been spotted roaming the city at night, knocking on doors, asking to be let in. If you're alone and let him in, you disappear. And the creepy part is, he needs to be invited in. He doesn't break in. He doesn't force his way inside. Even guns and locked doors don't stop him, but guests do. If you've got people over and you tell him no, he leaves. It's very vampire coded. He needs to be invited in, and he can't enter when others are around. But there's a flaw in that theory. He can come inside even when you have guests, as long as you confirm you're alone. We've seen him wipe out entire squads of armed soldiers, so it's not like he's afraid of resistance. Yet for some reason, if you've got people over and don't let him in, he stays out. And it feels like some kind of curse or supernatural rule, maybe even tied to folklore. And that's what makes it even more terrifying, because it's not just about his strength, it's about rules you don't fully understand. But it's not always that simple. In this demo, any guest can randomly become a visitor. It's not like the first version of the game, where you could slowly start to figure out who was safe. Now even if someone seems normal, friendly, human, they might not even stay that way. The fortune teller, the kid, in one playthrough they're human, in the next, they're something else entirely. Suddenly, you're not just managing your door, you're watching your guests, watching for signs, trying not to trust too easily, even when the house feels full, because it might not be full of people anymore, just masks. And it also changes the law, because now the big question is, are visitors their own species? Is this an infection or something else? Some radio broadcasts suggest it's a supernatural curse. Through the radio frequencies, we hear one group talking about collecting samples from people, things like blood or DNA, to figure out who's human and who's a visitor. But other broadcasts take a different angle. It suggests the whole visitor curse is something supernatural. So it's still unclear, Are visitors actual creatures that crawled out of the earth, pretending to be human? Or is it more like an infection or a curse that spreads to anyone?